That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not, dude.
The term overrated is a term that really just tends to drive people mad. But of course, I think people fail to understand that overrated does not necessarily mean bad. The definition of overrated is really quite simple. A unit that gets undeserved credit or gets wanked for their performance, or worse, unrealistic expectations or scenarios of their performance are henceforth overrated. As such, today we're going to be counting off the top 10 most overrated units in Dokkan history. Now, coming in at number 10, we have Physical Super Saiyan 2/3 Goku of the New Year's 2021/2022 celebration. Now, when this guy came out, he was really, really good. I mean, he was great, honestly, right? Very designed well. He had a pretty good super attack effect, giving himself attack and defense, along with a 30% chance to stun the enemy. He also, got 50% chance built into his kit for attacks to be crits. He had a built-in additional. He also had good key links and a pretty good transformation condition of just 77% or lower after 3 turns. Once he transforms, obviously he's really quite good. A really good super attack effect again for the time. Could potentially quadruple super with a 70% crit chance. Really kind of just did it all, right? Now, but unfortunately for this guy, he kind of released at the worst possible time. He was the last major release right before just the biggest, or at least one of the biggest meta shifts in the game's history, in the Red Zone meta. And while he was fine against the initial Red Zone stages, I feel like he quickly met his match once, Baby came out. And even though he had type advantage over Baby, the AoEs really hurt this guy's pre-super defense. And you could kind of tell. Obviously, this guy was going to get crunched by Broly, especially that AoE phase. Just the worst possible scenario for this guy. And he was actually pretty solid against Omega. He could be caught in that STR Sin phase, but he was still solid. But unfortunately, people were just hyping this guy up like he was just the most unstoppable juggernaut in the game's history up until that point. Really overrating this guy's damage and his overall ability to the team. His damage was good, don't get me wrong, but he was definitely one of the units that were going to get you killed on most of your runs on a team. Now, to be fair, that early Red Zone meta, there were really not any units that could really just compete besides the 7th anniversary units. But in my opinion, that does not excuse people unjustly wanking this guy. But that's not at all to diminish what he was. He's a good unit. He's going to come in at number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Oh boy, now here we go. Coming in at number 9, it's STR Cooler. Now, while I love STR Cooler, and STR Cooler is one of the best releases this game has ever seen, STR Cooler was very, very overrated for a long time, where people were just being unrealistic with this guy. Now, I mean, to be fair, it came out of insecurity over Tech Ultimate Gohan once he released, right? And Tech Ultimate Gohan was pretty much better as an individual unit, but of course people would rightfully, I would say, take into conjunction this guy's team and his support and all his other things. But then we kind of got into the meta where we got Extreme Super Battle Road, we got the GT Legendary Goku event, and all these other fights, and people were still, trying to make things oh, no, he's still better than Tech Ultimate Gohan, when he really wasn't. Tech Ultimate Gohan dominated the GT Legendary Goku event, and he was very good in Extreme Super Battle Road. STR Cooler really wasn't as good in those fights. His defense kind of just caught up with him. I feel like it took all the way up until the God event for people to finally let it go, but everybody should have basically regarded Gohan as a better unit. And then people, of course, were just saying unrealistic things Tech Ultimate Gohan's links were bad, which they weren't. Gohan didn't have any partners, which was wrong. Basically, burning out somebody else's candle to make yours brighter. It is what it is. Cooler equal great. Cooler
Not equal Tech Ultimate Gohan.
He's gonna come in at number 9. Moving on to number 8. Now, coming in at number 8, it is Int Goku Black. This is outrageous to me. People giving him credit for being runnable in the Legendary Goku event, the OG one, it feels like lunacy to me. I think people forget that you could clear the OG Legendary Goku event with free-to-play units. STR Vegito Blue. Dude, the AGL Kid Trunks from the second Broly movie could clear the, like, could easily clear the legendary Goku event. And people are gonna come back for this guy because he had started the turn with 80k defense and managed to very slowly build up his defense to not double-digit tank. He didn't double-digit tank. I mean, he still took damage, right? I mean, you still take 150k from UI Goku with this guy, even stacking. Like, he's just not good. He never really was good. I mean, my fault for expecting a Dokkan Fest unit to be better than a free-to-play unit. That's my bad. I take full responsibility. That's a completely unrealistic scenario and situation, I guess. You know, never mind the fact that he had 0 starter turn defense. Didn't hit hard until he transformed. And his Time Travelers team was the team that just never was. But no, I mean, he's got good links and he's got super pretty animations, so of course he's got to be good, right? He's great. He's so good. He's so good. Get it out of your head. This guy is trash. Nothing he did was ever impressive. He's carried by the fact that he's a Goku Black. That's it. He's gonna come in at number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Coming in at number 7, it's World Tournament Goku. Now, World Tournament Goku was a very, very good unit. I am not saying World Tournament Goku is bad. Again, remember, overrated does not equal bad. However, people were just very, very unrealistic with this guy. Now, he had a pretty good team, right? I will not take that away from him at all. But his super attack effect is trash. I don't care what anybody says. Having no defense on your super attack effect is bad. It's bad today. It'd be bad a year ago. It'd be bad 5 years ago. Okay, maybe not 5 years ago, but it'd be bad like 3 years ago. Now, for one, he's only got 1 turn of guaranteed guard, and after that, it becomes a 50% chance, which is just terrible. It's bad. It's bad. Duh. And if he's not guarding, he can't build up a major part of his passive, which is, of course, the 20% defense when guard is activated, you know, each time he gets hit while he's got his guard activated. Now, of course, you know, he gets the 150% attack and defense, guaranteed additional super attack, and guaranteed guard once, you know, somebody pops a revive. But of course, everyone knows that his condition is just horrible, right? 6 turns from his first turn, 59% HP or less, horrendously bad. But of course, you can get around this with the GT duo, right? I mean, yes, you can. But that does not still necessarily make it good. For this guy to get the, 1 million defense plus the guard and, all the damage, you really need his first 5 turns of his passive to be up. There's no real reason that in the early, well, I guess the mid-ish red zone meta, you'd really want to be popping a revive on turn 1 or turn 2 with the GT duo. While yes, they did have the ability to do that, you'd rather save it. At least in my experience, to like turn 3, turn 4. Of course, sometimes you just didn't have a choice, you just had to pop it, but hey, I mean, God forbid you get caught against, Ain't Zamasu of the red zone without this guy's guard up. I mean, it'd be over. Then your revive doesn't matter. But I mean, of course, say you get the revive off, you got his full passive up. He's great, right? He's obviously good. He'd have 1 million defense with guard. For the time, that was very good. But of course, you still got to put this guy in front of a bunch of attacks. You still got to get somewhat lucky, even with the GT Duo's really good revive skill. You still got to pray that you don't just get insta-faded when this guy doesn't guard. You still have to make a full use of his first 5 turn part of his passive. This guy is essentially just the epitome of a hypothetical unit, where at his best, he's God, right? He's the best unit ever. But realistically speaking, he's not all that. Don't get me wrong, he was good. He was great even. But to go around saying that 1 million defense with guard, guaranteed guard, 50% chance to nullify the key-based super attacks, super effective against all types, quadruple super, to say that that's his realistic scenario would be a massive overstatement. That's for sure. That's going to be World Tournament Goku. He's going to come in at number 7. Let's move on to number 6. Now, coming in at number 6, it's Tekpan. She was good when she came out, right? But, of course, her design was pretty, I wouldn't say it was bad. It was pretty mid, poor. I mean, first of all, her team was okay, right? It was okay when she came out. Then all her allies kind of started sucking, and then she also kind of sucked. Again, what do I always say? It was bad a year ago. It was bad today. It'd be bad 3 years ago. No defense on your super attack effect is trash. I don't care. And of course, she got 50% damage reduction when she was in slot 1 before she got attacked. That's just not good. I mean, that's really just a result of her not getting defense on her super attack effects, which is just terrible. Because she has pieces, right? She can do she's got built-in additionals, right? She builds up her passive with each attack, which is good. And of course, if you have, a GT Goku attacking with her, she's greatly stacking attack. Or I mean, I guess any of her unit super attack, she's greatly stacking attack, but she's got the 70% chance to stun. And that's what really makes her good, because the greatly stacking can be used with the active skill to just drop a nuke, right? It's also really just unfortunate that her condition, I guess, doesn't include Super Saiyan 4 Goku, but her active skill condition does. Why even make it different? Obviously, her active skill can hit potentially super hard, 59% chance to crit, right? Against the early red zone stages like Broly and mainly Broly, she could one-shot him. Wow. And she had solid links, right? Saiyan lineage, all in the family, that type beat. But really, Pan would just kind of struggle. Well, I mean, obviously, she got devastated by the Int Zamasu. Because when these units can't build up, they suck. Obviously, her team was nowhere near the echelon to go up against the Int Zamasu red zone stage. And even against Broly, that team could struggle. But I mean, she can one-shot Broly. Whee! Yay! I just don't care. Like, it's stupid. Going into a fight and expecting Pan and her team to just dominate it, dunk on it, even, especially during her prime. It's just unrealistic. She's going to come in at number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Now, oh boy, coming in at number 5, it's LRSTR Super Vegito. Now, Super Vegito, they came out they were really, really good. Really good. Best unit in the game, good. They were good in base. Super Vegito came out. He had his 10-turn scouter, everything, all that stuff. But of course, we eventually got to the point where Super Vegito's really bad, super bad defense caught up with him. The guy would get crunched for 100k per normal attack. But, you can see the super attack. Whee! I mean, it mainly really started getting bad during the red zone, where people would just say, oh yeah, he's still amazing, and he just wasn't. I mean, to be fair, to expect a unit to be really good a year and a half after they came out is just no. But don't get me wrong, Super Vegito could definitely provide, utility with all his, healing and all the scouter and all that whatnot. But if you see where the super attack is and you just get blown away by the normals, I mean, are you kind of just at a net negative? It is what it is. And that's really just the main argument with STR Super Vegito, right? People had just, they refused to give it up. Like, Unk had a good run, but, it's over for him. That's going to be Super Vegito. Going to come in at number 5. Move on to number 4. Now, number 4, it's basically the same thing as Super Vegito, except he came out a year later. It is, of course, LR Namek Goku. Namek Goku came out right before the Red Zone meta. The last, huge release before the Red Zone meta. Just kind of unfortunate, where even day 1, his start of turn defense was quite bad. Maybe not bad, but quite mid, right? And of course, he could stack to the point where he could be good against, the GT Legendary Goku event. And I mean, while he could struggle against the God event, he was still, pretty solid against it, right? He was pretty good against the God event. But I mean, people were just wanking this guy for his performance against, the red zone, when just realistically, that's not what was happening. I mean, I remember bringing this guy against Baby and getting crushed. Sunned. He sunned me. Like, Baby just dominated. Like, he dunked on this guy. I mean, here you go, have people believing that, oh, no, he can stack and be really good against Baby. He'll take no damage at all. Oh, he builds up, he does a lot of damage against him. Oh, you just put him in slot 1, and then he gets the 2 guaranteed super attacks. No, if you put this guy against slot 1 against any of those hard red zone fights, you're dead. This guy's defense is just too mid turn 1. It's just not good enough. And therein lies your predicament, right? People were just saying that this guy was way more defensively capable than he really was. And while his damage was still quite good, even when the red zone came out, right? Like, Namagoku is one of the hardest 12 key, he had one of the hardest 12 key super attacks in the game because he did Mega Colossal on both 18 and 12 key. But to say that he was good, I would say even good against the red zone, the hard red zone stages, is overrated. He was runnable, but he wasn't good. I'd argue that the physical Super Saiyan 2/3 Goku was better than this guy in the red zone. He's going to come in at number 4. Let's move on to number 3. Coming in at number 3, it is, of course, full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku. Now, basically, the problem with this guy is he was really good against Omega Shenron, like probably the best unit for that fight. And then the Dismal Future Red Zone came out, right? And it mainly started with Cell, and then, but you know, you could kind of get around that because Cell was tech, but it really got bad with Goku Black. Goku Black just sunned this guy. And then, of course, you had Zamasu, who just made it even worse, way worse. He was just not good enough in base, right? Even with his extra damage reduction, his 40% damage reduction as turn 1, he got crushed. He sucked against those fights. Now, I mean, he still could be good. Like, if you got to super full power Super Saiyan 4 Goku, God, that was a tongue twister and a half. He could be very good. You know, you get 20 million attack stats, guaranteed crits with guard. Yippee-ki-yay. And Oob could still be good for his one turn of just dominant defense, right? But, I mean, the problem is base form bad. And that's, you know, that was probably the most turn 1 crucial meta in the entire game, I want to say. I think that's fair to say. I mean, I don't really think I need to talk that much more about him because I don't really want to slander this guy, right? He's a great unit, or he was a great unit. He was awesome, but he was overrated. People acting like his super full power Saiyan 4 turn, like that first turn was his entire kit, you're stupid. Judging a unit by their peak performance is not a good representation of what that unit is. Sorry. Let's move on to number 2. You're goddamn right. I had to put this guy on this list. LR, Blue Goku, and Blue Vegeta. Again, no defense on 12 key super attack. It was bad today. It was bad yesterday. It was bad a year ago. It was bad 3 years ago. I don't care. This sucks. This is bad. And of course, they do multiple 12 key super attacks per turn. So of course, this is just horrendous. I mean, but you know, they were good for a time, right? That's why I put them higher, because I feel like Red Zone Zamasu was way harder than Omega Shenron. And they were legitimately very good against that fight, right? They got guard for 4 turns. They had 50% dodge in slot 1, extra defense. Very good. But to act like these guys were anywhere near as good as they should have been is lunacy. First of all, they hit like a wet paper rag, you know? I don't even know what a paper rag is. They hit like paper mache. They did not hit hard at all. And while that doesn't really matter to me so much, you would like your brand new Dokkan Fest LR to hit somewhat hard, at least look like they're damaging the enemy and not doing 0 damage to Zamasu. And then of course, you know, once this ran out, the 4 turns of the guard, they were essentially a dodge or die unit. And of course, this active skill condition is just ferociously terrible. This is bad, right? 70% or less, turn 5, get out. Now, of course, AGL Vegeta Blue, once you transformed into him, he was good, right? Even when these guys were resorted as like bad, AGL Vegeta Blue was still good, just solid to good, right? But to get there and to ignore all the holes in this guy's kit is just ill-sighted. Because it was hard to get into Vegeta Blue, very hard. I mean, especially in a meta where you didn't really get you didn't get really scratched at, you didn't get damaged really, except when you got one shot and you were just instantly dead. To be fair, I mean, yeah, I won't go too hard because I know this is a lot of people's cherished unit. A lot of people really like this guy. They do legitimately have a great leader skill. You know, they had good things about them. It's just unfortunate. I mean, this is probably one of the more hype releases in this game's history. They're going to come in at number 2. Let's move on to numero uno. Coming in at number 1, it was, of course, it had to be, it's Blue Kaioken Goku. S tier Blue Kaioken Goku. Now, when this guy came out on Global First, right, he was great, right? He was good, really good. You know, people could stack him up in the OG Legendary Goku event, drop a nuke and one-shot the enemy. Wowie zowie, super awesome. Mega PogChamp, I guess. But when he came out on JP and people were, comparing this guy to Cooler and Tech Ultimate Gohan, I mean, that's where you lost me. This guy was not ever really in their tier. That's mainly because he sucked defensively. Horrible defensively. Like, you think Cooler was ever this bad defensively? Like, no. Cooler was legitimately very good defensively when he first came out. This guy was mid defensively day one, and then he started to just suck and just be trash defensively. The guy could barely take hits in the GT Legendary Goku event, and that's supposed to be his specialty, long events. The guy got crushed in Super Battle Road stages, but he could potentially get that loop, that Spirit Bomb loop. And of course, that doesn't even consider the fact that his condition is need 3 or more reps of Universe 7, which is admittedly, like, for most of his relevant life cycle, that wasn't super hard because most of the reps of Universe 7 allies were good and the effect was so strong for the time. It also just, however, severely limited your team building, right? And running 2 of these guys was terrible, like a bad idea. Like during his, meta, I guess you could say, you could get away with running 1 poor defensive unit. Running 2? I don't know. Of course, again, he gets no defense on his pre-EZA super attack effect. Wow, look at this. It was bad 4 years ago, too. And then, most people were just really treating it like the Giga super mega powerful Spirit Bomb was his, his average performance, which is just nowhere near true. It's unfortunate, but hey, it is what it is. Blue Kaioken Goku's gonna come in at number 1. Let me know what you thought of my list down below. Whether you thought it was perfect, as the algorithm would surely have it so. Let me know if you have any suggestions of any top 10 lists you want to see. Do also let me know that if you think that anybody was snubbed off the list, or if you think that the order should have been different. But of course, just know that if you disagree with me and the algorithm, you're wrong. But of course, as always, thanks for stopping by.